What is social anxiety disorder? And why is it on the rise? Have you ever noticed how the abbreviation of social anxiety disorder is SAD? From the website Anxiety and Depression Association of America, the defining feature of social anxiety disorder, also called social phobia, is intense anxiety or fear of being judged, negatively evaluated, or rejected in a social or performance situation. People with social anxiety disorder may worry about acting or appearing visibly anxious. Example, blushing, stumbling over words, or being viewed as stupid, awkward, or boring. As a result, they often avoid social or performance situations, and when a situation cannot be avoided, they experience significant anxiety and distress. Many people with social anxiety disorder also experience strong physical symptoms, such as rapid heart rate, nausea, and sweating, and may experience full-blown attacks when confronting a feared situation. Although they recognize that their fear is excessive and unreasonable, people with social anxiety disorder often feel powerless against their anxiety. Now, in dealing with my own social anxiety, what I learned was the more you actually deal with it, the more you face it and not run from it, you learn to understand it and thus understand yourself. What I learned personally was how I could now see and sense the anxiety in others, how I could almost feel it. Those moments of fogginess where you just can't seem to focus. There are many thoughts happening at once and you just can't settle on one point properly and focus on it. You have this feeling of being watched, almost in a sense of a paranoia. You feel like everything you are doing is being judged. You feel like every time you are interacting with someone or you are out in public, you feel as though you are being judged, as if people are watching you and judging everything about you. Now, having that feeling of unease, that feeling of being trapped even when you're surrounded by many people, the feeling of being isolated even when in a crowd, the feeling of not being safe, because you find it difficult to be safe around others because, in a sense, you do not trust others. You over worry about their perception of you. And in a sense, when we are suffering from anxiety, we are seeking validation. And in a sense, for some, they may not want the validation because they may not want to hear what others think about them. For some, knowing others may have a bad thought about them is enough to make them almost paralyzed, make them fearful of leaving their house, fearful of talking to anyone else, of being around anyone else. I also believe many can develop their social anxiety as well because of others, because of prior experiences of how others have made you feel. Now, the thing is, I believe many can develop social anxieties from when they were younger, and a lot of those things stay with them as they age. But the thing is, part of the anxiety, the social anxiety, is when nothing happens. When you have all these fears, these certain doubts, and nothing actually happens. And that in itself is a build-up to and adding to your anxiety. The thought of it, the fretting of it. Fretting about fretting itself, if that makes sense. And many people wear their heart on their sleeve, so you can clearly see if something is bothering them, or you can see what mood they are in more clearly than you can others. As the saying goes, wearing your heart on your sleeve. And that alone causes fear. The fear of rejection, because your anxieties can be seen, they're visible. You can imagine how for dating, suffering with social anxiety, you can imagine how difficult this could be. Especially for men, who more than likely have to be the ones that approach and, let's say, break the ice, introduce themselves and be very upfront, confident, and basically state what they are there for, and do so without showing any level of doubt in what they say, without showing any level of fear, and in a sense without seeming too eager. That in itself is a mind trip. Now imagine for someone that suffers with a high level of social anxiety disorder, for him to ever approach anyone, let alone a woman he may be attracted to, that would be almost impossible, if not completely impossible. Because then it's the point of, how do I now break down these barriers just to get my point across without seeming like this strange weirdo? Which for many with social anxiety disorder, a high level of it, this is how they come across. And at the same time they fear this at the same time, which adds to that anxiety as well. In understanding myself and learning more about myself and overcoming the large anxieties I once had, and understanding how to see this in others, in a sense you can almost see how they are trembling and nothing is happening. It's just a normal situation, but you could see how afraid they are. And for many people that do not suffer from this, they may take this as something to laugh at. Oh, why are you afraid of just being outside? But at the same time, social anxiety is on the rise. And from another article I was reading on medicalnewstoday.com, it states that millennials suffer with the most social anxiety of any generation, any past recent generation. Now, I knew that myself. I did not need a website to tell me that. You could see it anyway. Just go online, you can see how much fear there is of so many things. It's almost as if a large part of the modern Western world has become socially anxious, afraid of so many things, at the same time afraid of being rejected from so many things, at the same time afraid of being weak and seen as weak because of the things that they fear. And that in itself can cause some type of mind trip in itself. That in itself can add to the stress and the anxiety itself. It's like a constant barrage of heavy thoughts, makes it difficult for you to concentrate and focus on anything you really want to focus on. Many people have no life simply because of their social anxiety. And millennials being the largest generation of sufferers of social anxiety, you may ask why. Some may say it is the internet. Some may say it is just society on a whole. Some may say it's the fear that millennials suffer from. Myself being a millennial, the fear of not being accepted. When to understand part of confronting your social anxiety is to learn to accept yourself. It is first in accepting yourself you can clearly see what you were anxious to, what made you so anxious. You can then start to address them properly. See if nothing will happen, then why are you worried? If this worrying leads to nothing, then why are you wasting the time worrying? You can see how pointless it is to worry in the beginning, before you start to worry. The more you understand the anxieties you put on yourself are a burden you put on yourself, and that each one of those anxieties that you let go of is another burden you have let go of, makes you feel lighter, more airy, more focused, concentrated. Not easy, no. All the more reason to seek it, because no one can seek it for you, no one can find it for you, no one can give it to you. Only you can do that. Social anxieties are the fears we have of how others may see or judge us, and how they may reject us because of how they see us. Part of letting go of that is understanding and thinking to yourself, Why do you even care? Why are you bothered what they think about you? You are not a bad person doing anything wrong. Therefore, to hell with their thoughts. Because you can't live your life by the thoughts of others. That in itself is why many people suffer from the social anxiety disorder. Sad. Sad indeed. Some say life is what you make it. But then if you make it about what others think about you, then you are living your life through the eyes of others. Others that may be blind and are blind to who you really are. Thank you, and have a nice day.